Hi, Dr. Cynthia Marie Whitley here again with another podcast. Welcome as we examine the explosions that have taken place across mainstream lately. Today we are going to talk about a term called projection. I know it has taken me a while to understand what projection meant from a psychological perspective. I believe I have an understanding now so I can pass it on. Have you ever heard someone say, "Stop projecting your insecurities onto me"? Or have you ever been in a predicament where your partner, family member, friend, or boss blamed you for something that wasn't your fault? In fact, you knew that they were responsible for the mishap in most cases. Alternatively, have you been the person doing the blaming and pointing the finger? Remember the old time projectors, or the ones they still use in the movies, where a tiny image on a tape, when placed before the light, shows up larger than life on the screen? You can say that what is in the film has been blown out of proportion. This is exactly what happens when we use our minds or imaginations to blow an incident out of proportion, often ending with a fight or argument where everyone is wounded. The person's doing the projecting because of denials and insecurities, usually, and the one being projected upon. Projection, as explained by many psychologists, is a mental defense mechanism through which individuals attribute their thoughts, feelings, motives, and qualities onto others, most times unknowingly, often blaming other individuals for what is not right in their own life. This process involves unconsciously displacing one's own unacceptable or unwanted emotions onto usually unsuspecting victims, externalizing internal, often hidden, complexes, traumas, and conflicts. Projection existed since the beginning of time, although it was not called projection at the time. Remember when the fruit was eaten in the Garden of Eden in Genesis 2:4 through 3? God asked Adam, "What is this that you have done?" Adam pointed the finger at the woman God gave him and said, "The woman you gave me." He was blaming God and the woman. When God asked the woman, "What is this that I have done?" she pointed the finger at Satan. Each person pointed the finger at another person. Satan wasn't even questioned. God already knew his intentions. Often, projection is accompanied by anger. Remember Cain and Abel? Cain was angry with his brother Abel in Genesis 4:8. We can infer that Cain might have believed that Abel, his brother, was responsible for his offering not being accepted by God. It's not hard to imagine that Cain blamed his brother because anger or rage had to be present within Cain in order for him to kill his brother. Just think of all the biblical characters that were angry for one reason or another at another person. How about Sarah's anger towards her handmaid Hagar in Genesis 16:11 through 31? Although Sarah insisted that her husband Abraham have a child with Hagar, their handmaid, since Sarah seemed barren, at least they would have had an heir through Hagar. Sometime after the birth of the child, Sarah pointed the finger at Hagar, thus blaming her for the contention felt as she displaced her unwanted emotions onto Hagar. In her anger, Sarah had Hagar and her son Ishmael removed from the house and thrown into the wilderness. The term projection was coined by Sigmund Freud, a pioneer in psychoanalytic theory, signifying a psychological defense mechanism. According to Freud, individuals project their repressed feelings, desires, or fears onto others as a way of coping with internal conflicts. This allows individuals to distance themselves from uncomfortable emotions and maintain a sense of self-integrity, howbeit false self-integrity. Another common example of projection is when an individual denies their aggressive tendencies but perceives others as overly aggressive. In this case, the person may project their repressed aggression onto others, blaming them for feelings that originate within themselves, always pointing the finger and never seeing where they might have erred. Individuals project their insecurities, anxieties, or unacceptable desires onto those around them while creating a distorted perception of reality. This allows individuals to deny the shame of undesirable thoughts that they hold and accuse others, pointing the finger, at others who act out those same tendencies. They wish they could. They are often highly judgmental toward others who dare to live out the hidden fantasies so boldly that they wish they could. Projection often occurs unconsciously, but not always, because some shrewd people use it as a guilt mechanism on others, leading the unsuspecting person to believe that the guilt is their own, accusing others of actions they are performing, like cheating, all the while accusing the innocent party of cheating. All of the above makes projecting a challenging phenomenon to recognize and address effectively. Many people truly do not believe that they are capable of projecting, often standing steadfast to their position that their words represent the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Projecting, by whatever term, is a common human phenomenon, and it impacts interpersonal relationships, leading to misunderstandings, conflicts, a lack of self-awareness, and ineffective communications. By projecting our internal struggles onto others, we refuse to take responsibility for our emotions, behaviors, motives, and traumas. Other psychoanalysts like Carl Jung emphasized the idea of the same phenomenon and termed it shadow, again representing the unconscious aspects of an individual's personality that are projected onto others. This term shadow seems to fit because a shadow is not seen when there is no light or understanding. And as mentioned before, these emotional cover-ups are often undetected, present but unseen and not understood by the person doing the projecting. Remember, blowing issues out of proportion, like the projector. When a shadow is seen, it's only a silhouette. So maybe we can take from this that the person projecting has a shadow. According to Carl Jung, which could be a clear sign that they are projecting. They are reflecting something that is within themselves. Either way, until it is accepted or understood by both parties, it will stay hidden in the dark and war will persist. Understanding projection is crucial for personal growth and fostering healthier relationships between people and nations. Understanding projection can help us to see when someone is projecting their insecurities onto us, and then allow us to step back and say to ourselves, oh, they are projecting. I will not take this personally. That's what I have begun to do. It allows me to have patience and show compassion when necessary. Vice versa. Understanding projection can also allow us to see when we are projecting and can or should allow us to stop immediately. Self-growth can be gained dependent on the intention of the individual projecting. Projection can be a form of mental abuse that can worsen as it persists. Recognizing when projection is at play empowers individuals to explore their own emotions, motivations, and fears, allowing them to choose different courses of actions in their life. Psychotherapy, self-study, Understanding sacred scripture, self-reflection, and life coaching are common tools used to address projection, helping individuals gain insight into their internal dynamics and fostering emotional well-being. In conclusion, projection is a psychological defense mechanism that involves attributing one's thoughts, feelings, or qualities to others. It serves as a faulty way for individuals to cope with internal conflicts by externalizing or releasing uncomfortable emotions. It would behoove humans, from the least to the greatest, to consider when projection is at play, as it reflects on human behavior on all levels, and the importance of self-awareness in fostering positive relationships and personal development worldwide. If considered individually and held in high esteem collectively in higher top-level negotiations, many of the world's problems can be avoided. Peace and blessings.